Sony will continue to release new games directly to PS Plus. Leading up to the release of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, we knew that the plan for Xbox was to get you into the subscription service and into the Xbox ecosystem onto Game Pass to enjoy all of the content in there. PlayStation's strategy leading up to the release was that they believed in generations. They weren't that keen on backwards compatibility, and they were not going to release new games into any subscription service. Now, before we get into this any further, if you guys are new here and you enjoy what you see throughout this video, I would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to help this channel grow, help grow this community so we can have some great conversations in the comments below. As we've seen since the launch of Game Pass, it's been continuously growing at a point that they're over 18 million subscribers now, and they're making a ton of money off of it. In their last quarterly earnings for Microsoft, Game Pass and the subscription service was a large part of the revenue for the Xbox division. So it's obviously something they're going to want to continue to grow, want to continue to invest in and focus on by probably getting more studios into the mix who are going to be putting their games on Game Pass. And we've seen Game Pass pay off for all of these developers as they're pretty happy with the service so far. Sega has been happy, EA has been happy, the Medium has made back all of their money within like the first 3 days of putting their game on Game Pass on day one. So overall, if you're a developer, it works out because more people play your game. You're going to be obviously signing deals with Xbox and making a lot of money through that as well. So it's a great venture for a developer who wants to get their game out there, get more eyes and hands on it. Now, I think we're slowly starting to see this generation, Sony seeing the success of the Xbox ecosystem and Xbox Game Pass, and they're starting to change their tune around that, as we got this article that has come out saying that Sony will continue to release new games directly to PlayStation Plus. So with PlayStation Plus, they've already started to release some new PS5 games. They released Bugsnax and Destruction All-Stars already as brand new PlayStation 5 games, and they're going to continue to do that into April, as PlayStation Plus is going to be getting Oddworld Soulstorm on day one when that game is released. And this looks like it's going to be a continued strategy for PlayStation going forward, as in an interview with GQ, Ryan said that the company feels that releasing directly to PlayStation Plus is a very interesting and innovative way to publish games. He continues saying, "It works for us as the publisher, and we know subscribers to PlayStation Plus love it." On top of that, the statistic right now is that 87% of people with a PS5 are subscribed to PlayStation Plus. So a large amount of the user base with a PS5 are going to be accessing and playing these games. And I'm sure as a developer, you are excited to see that if you're going to put your game out on PlayStation Plus, the majority of people with the PlayStation 5 will have access and will potentially play the game. Now, this is an interesting, I am not surprised about this at all. I have said in previous videos that you're going to see more companies like Sony and potentially Nintendo down the road. There's, I think, a less of a chance for Nintendo just because they do things differently. They appeal to families and they're more of in their own world when it comes to creating and then publishing their games. But I do think eventually they will start to focus on some sort of subscription and ecosystem service. But I've said that PlayStation will be following in the footsteps of Xbox. That's my prediction. That's what I think is going to happen. And we're starting to see that slowly throughout this generation. We are going to start to see that more. Firstly, we're starting to see more PlayStation games come to PC because you're going to have the suits at Sony sitting in a room and seeing all of the revenue they will be missing out on by locking their games into the console alone. We see that with Days Gone coming, and I've said my crazy prediction is we are going to start to see newer PlayStation games coming to the PC in the future. And when it comes to the subscription services, Sony had originally said back in September they were not going to compete with Game Pass, and we've already seen them now kind of start to turn around on that. And this is a quote from back in September, what Jim Ryan's original strategy was in terms of competing with Game Pass. Our pitch, as you've heard, is new games, great games. We have had this conversation before. We are not going down the road of putting new release titles into a subscription model. These games cost cost many millions of dollars, well over 100 million to develop, we just don't see that as sustainable. We want to make the games bigger and better and hopefully at some stage more persistent. So putting those into a subscription model on day one for us just doesn't make any sense. For others in a different situation, it might well make sense, but for us, it doesn't. We want to expand and grow our existing ecosystem, and putting new games into a subscription model just doesn't sit with that. And I mean, obviously we've seen Destruction All-Stars and Bugsnax be put into PlayStation Plus, which is a subscription model on day one already. And you can argue, yes, those are lesser games, but at the same time, PlayStation was planning on selling Destruction All-Stars at a full $70 retail price before they decided to change their strategy on that. But when we see things like this, what this is telling me is that Sony has had these thoughts in their mind that they weren't going to do these sort of things, but they're taking a step back. They're looking at their revenue streams. They're looking at the competition when it comes to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass and their ecosystem. And I can almost guarantee they're sitting in a room and starting to rethink what they want to do going forward, because the future of gaming, whether we like it or not, is going to be similar, in my opinion, to the Netflix, to Disney Plus, and that kind of stuff, where there's going to be a bunch of different subscription services and you're going to subscribe to the ones that you want, and then you're going to get access to that catalog of games. Just a recent example that I think will show that they are trying to go along the lines of a more service-based approach is the recent reports of their earnings, and they said that their profits were helped by software and network service sales, but weighed down by the cost related to the PlayStation 5, which Sony said was being sold at a loss. And again, this is like what I've mentioned in my previous video about console exclusives being dead. If you're going to be selling your console at a loss and then expecting to lock people into that console and then just push your first party games onto them, you are going to be missing out on a ton of revenue streams, and other companies like Microsoft are creating Game Pass and creating an ecosystem, and they're going to be taking advantage of that. And in today's day and age, with the internet and good internet access being more widespread and the access to these subscription services being widespread, you don't start taking advantage of that into the future, you're going to be pretty much just shooting yourself in the foot. And now if we go back even further, this is from May 13th, 2020. It says PS4 sales are down, which I mean in May 2020, you're getting closer to the release of the PlayStation 5, which makes sense. But network service revenues get a significant boost. And this says here, recently network service revenues has increased significantly as gameplay hours on the PlayStation Network have reached 1.5 times that of the Christmas season. Sales of games downloaded from the network as well as network subscriber numbers have also increased significantly since March. And then you look at their game and network service segments and just their sales and operating income. The key point here is that for the fiscal year 2019, the majority of stuff decreased, like decrease in PlayStation 4 hardware, decrease in game software sales, but there was an increase in the sales of the PlayStation Plus, and then for their operating income, increase in sales for the PS Plus as well. So I mean, just in general, this graph shows that even when stuff starts to fall, like your hardware sales and other things that you offer, your subscription services is going to help bolster your revenue. And like what's going on with COVID, what's going on with the silicon problem where it's hard to get these silicons and make these consoles, people are still subscribing to Xbox Game Pass. People are still subscribing to the ecosystem because they don't need that physical console in order to play the games that they would want to play. But on top of that, the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S are still being sold out everywhere. So it isn't to the detriment of selling those consoles, but it is adding that big layer of an extra revenue stream to these services and to the company. So all in all, it'll be interesting to see if PlayStation Plus does become that response to Xbox Game Pass, because back in November, he also said there is news to come on what Sony might have planned in order to compete with Xbox Game Pass. So it will be interesting to see as we're starting to see more new games released on PlayStation Plus, and if this is the route they are going to do. I think personally, if they go down this route, it would be a smart move by them because they already have so many subscribers on PlayStation Plus. However, I do think it's going to take a long time for them to be able to compete with Xbox Game Pass because of what Xbox Game Pass has established in showing developers that gets more people to play their games. All of the first party studios that Microsoft has been scooping up in order to get them into Game Pass. I think it's going to be tough, but I think for Sony, if they do go down the route of adding new titles and adding their own new titles, their first party games to PlayStation Plus on day one, it would significantly help them and would significantly increase the amount of people that do subscribe to PlayStation Plus. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Do you think PlayStation Plus is going to be the competitor to Xbox Game Pass that Jim Ryan mentioned back in November? And do you think, do they have a chance to compete with Xbox Game Pass, or are they too far behind right now? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you like this content, you liked what you see, you thought it was informative and entertaining, and you're new here, I would really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to help this channel grow, help grow this community so we can have some great conversations in the comments below. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.